Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin Van Churn.
And my name is Patrick Ferry.
And guys, welcome to our show. So guys, it was kind of a quiet weekend this week, but there is some big storylines we got to cover, some interesting storylines, but we also want to take time to deep dive into some topics that have been, occurring over the past few weeks. Isn't that right, Pat?
That's right, Austin. We got to cover and really kind of go in depth and analyze, what's going on with some different moves and, managerial changes. And there might not be those goals or assists that we're, accustomed to seeing, but there's still a lot to talk about.
That's very true. And today, we got to talk about a player getting his debut for his very new team.
And also an American trying to reestablish himself back in the starting 11.
And also a new young YAA signing for, German giants Bayern Munich. So all that and more in today's episode. So to start today, we got to talk about Chris Richards. And Chris got his very first start for Hoffenheim in his first game for them. So obviously great way to start off, your loan spell at a new team. And Pat, honestly, this was what I was looking for from this loan right away. I thought if Chris was able to get game time in this first game, it really kind of showed that Hoffenheim are really going to give him a fair chance at their club. And, he's not going to be just another bench player or depth player for them. So I was really happy to see that. And, Pat, in this game, he played pretty well. There was some moments, and obviously Hoffenheim lost this game. So it's never great, when you're a defender and you don't get that clean sheet. But I thought overall he had a pretty good game, looked good in possession, very confident from the start, which was another thing I was looking for. Obviously, when he played with Bayern the few times this year, it's just a higher level of playing more attention on you when you're on the field with some of those quality players, Pat. So I thought he looked nervous in some of the games earlier this year, but in this game, that was not the case at all. So like I said, good in possession. I don't think he was really at fault for many of the goals. The second and third, there was some debate on whether or not he played a part, in letting those goals up. The second one, it was kind of the man he started marking on a long free kick. There was maybe some miscommunication. Hoffenheim just did a poor job as a whole on that free kick. So maybe, he could have done a little bit better there. The third goal, Pat, I really think he just kind of closed down that Hoffenheim defender maybe a little too slowly, but I kind of liken it to basketball, Pat. He was able to affect the pass, which is like, a defender closing down on a shooter and affecting the shot. So all in all, like I said, Pat, I thought it was, a good start to life at Hoffenheim. And I expect, more good things.
Yeah, I think it's just awesome to see him slotted right into that starting lineup. Coming over from Bayern, I know he had, I think, 3 appearances there, for the senior team. And then obviously, with Bayern too there. But I think it's just in terms of his development, the 20-year-old getting a real shot here at some high-level Bundesliga action. And again, not the result you want as a team, but he's still learning. He's, a lone player coming into a new locker room and training style and all of that combination there to go out and perform pretty well, I would say. And I agree with you there. Maybe could have done a little bit better on some of the other goals, but I think it's a really promising first start and performance there, and really looking forward to many more as they continue on. I think Richards is a player that is just going to soak and absorb all this knowledge, and really important for him at this stage of his career to get live game time, not just on the training ground there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Pat. And I think, again, just getting the start in this game really just shows that he's a player that, Bundesliga clubs are really looking at as a full-time Bundesliga player. And I think that's so important that he gets, like you said, Pat, all this experience from this loan. It's not always going to be easy. Bayern Munich are such a good team that a lot of times, their defenders have Manuel Neuer behind them that can kind of mop up any mistakes they have. So it's definitely a good learning experience when that's not the case. And I guess before we move on, Pat, I did want to say that Chris started this game as the left center back in a back three, So a little bit different than what we said last week, where we thought maybe he'd start more on the right in that back three. But he did replace the player we said he was going to, Kasim Adams. So, hey, I guess we'll give ourselves a little bit of props there. But yeah, so it was on the left. So, Chris Richards is primarily a right-footed player, but that didn't really affect him in this game. I thought he did a good job, like I said, passing out of that position. Actually had a nice little diagonal ball that kind of unlocked Frankfurt kind of later on in the first half there. So I thought, I don't think that really did anything to him. He looked very comfortable. And I think the last thing I'll say, Pat, is too, his coach, I think, is really important to make this loan successful. Sebastian Hoeneß was his Bayern 2 manager for that year last year where they won the championship there. So he was the one who brought Chris Richards in on this loan. Hoffenheim have not done so great this year. I still think they sit in 12th at the moment. So, I think he's going to be crucial to keep at the club in order to make sure that Chris Richards' time on loan there is as successful as we think it's going to be. So keep your eyes on him. I really hope he doesn't get fired here in the next few weeks because I know there's been some talk about that. But, I think so far so good, Pat, with Chris Richards.
Yeah, well, keep monitoring that and fingers crossed, turn around with some results there, for Richards.
Right.
A great connection. But, moving on here to Spain, Austin, with Yunus Musah. And just want to talk about the game here and just his current situation at Valencia, who, as a club as a whole, is kind of struggling, to be honest, a little bit here. So, again, to start the 2020-21 season here, Musah, just the name that has been hot on the press for the U.S. radar here, and with everything going on there for club and country and everything with England too. But most recently, it kind of cooled off a little bit. Now just 2 starts in the last 8 games. Again, like I said, for a struggling Valencia team. But this recent game against Bilbao, to be honest, and looking at some of the highlights, he did sub on the 65th minute in a 1-1 draw there, I believe. But he looked really impressive and had some really strong highlights there from the right wing. His shiftiness and the way he's dropping his shoulder to unbalance a defender, and just with his speed and agility to burst forward and just play with ease. I think he had that really nice highlight where he shifted between 2 players there, took it down and cut it back with the left and kind of scuffed the shot a little bit to the outside of the goal, but really good chance created and had a few of those moments there where he's really making an impact and just looks so deadly and potent on that right wing side, cutting in and, wreaking havoc for those fullbacks there. So again, just wanted to bring that up for the game, Austin. But recently, I think the lack of game time has been more with the return to form and fitness of a multiple amount of players here, from Guedes to Denis Cheryshev, pretty notable names there, along with the recent emergence, the youngster of Thierry Correa, pushing Daniel Wass kind of back into the midfield there. So there is a lot more competition and they're struggling. So that could be a reason why, Musah isn't starting there. But I want to get your thoughts on everything going on here with him, Austin.
Yeah, it's been a little disheartening to honestly see him move to the bench. But when you put it that way, where, some more experienced players are kind of getting thrown into the mix, it makes a little bit more sense. So I appreciate that clarity, Pat. And I really just, like you said, again, I'm really all in on Yunus Musah. Just from what you've seen so far, he's someone who has immense potential. You really can't teach the physical qualities he has. That pace to get forward is rapid, they'd say in England, Pat. And,
right.
Again, just that dribbling, that close control that he has of the ball, that's so rare. Like, Christian Pulisic is honestly one of the only players on our team who has it. Maybe you could say Weston McKennie now, the way he's been playing. He's done a great job with it too. But other than that, I think, maybe Gio Reyna, that'd be pretty much it. So anytime we can get another player, with that close control, I just think, it's someone we gotta, continue to look at as a big time prospect.
Absolutely. I want to quickly bring up too, Austin, just an interesting topic. I'm excited about this, but in terms of some debate with Musah right now, with the U.S. team, and obviously with Valencia playing more of that right wing, and then we saw obviously with Berhalter kind of mixing with McKennie, Adams, and himself there, in the center of the pitch in the midfield. So I guess curious about your opinions, but wanted to express mine at first. just in terms of his it's small sample size, but just the right wing and the qualities that I think he shows and has. It's very early, like I said. Maybe there's promise to both, but I'm leaning more on the right wing side. Obviously, you do have, I guess you could argue Morris, YAA, players like that. But the way Musah just, sits so far for Valencia on the touchline to really open up space for the rest of the other players, and he's such a difficult player to contain, and just great pace and getting better in terms of accurate crossing and things like that, and just finishing, being able to improve his finishing a little bit more. The way he drives one-on-one and cut in, again, not comparing at all, but can continue kind of shifts from the outside in with his other foot, and just being able to drop his shoulder, like I mentioned, and have that low center of gravity, to enables him to kind of ride some of those challenges, which again, you could argue maybe he's better in the center of the pitch, but I really like him on the outside there. I want to get your take quick.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And it's tough to look at, his place in the USMNT lineup, because personally, I like Gio Reyna more in the middle with Yunus Musah outside. But to be honest, Pat, I almost see him more as a central midfielder myself.
Okay.
I just think he does that same thing that Gio Reyna is so good at, is just taking balls on the half turn, being so aware about the players, around him on the field, like 360 degrees. I just think he's really good at that, and he can honestly get out of any tight situation. So personally, I just could see him becoming more of the McKinney play style, where he can, take the ball off of someone, go forward, 40, 50 yards, and then play a nice through ball in to one of our strikers getting into the box.
Right.
So I personally just kind of see that in my mind. Not to say that I don't see him being effective on the right wing as well, but that's kind of my take.
Yeah, I think it's a fair take. Not much more to add. I think it's such a small sample size of what I've seen in Valencia, and he's so young. He does have the mold to fit both of those. So I guess we'll just kind of have to keep debating on and get more, hopefully game time here with the U.S. Fingers crossed. He stays with them.
Yeah, honestly, that's the biggest thing. We just need to see him back in those red, white, and blue colors again. Right. And there's going to be opportunities to captain him, I think, as early as this summer. So it should be, I feel like we're going to have a decision on him by the end of this year. And I think that's a good thing, because, I feel like we're in a good spot with him right now.
I think so too.
I like that. So now let's move on to a player we just actually brought up, and that would be Gio Reyna. So Gio Reyna this week started and played 70 minutes for Dortmund in their unfortunate, again, loss, 2-1 loss to Freiburg. So, Pat, this is just, another kind of run of poor games for Dortmund. And, it just doesn't seem like it's gotten much better since the firing of Lucien Favre. And honestly, Pat, it's kind of been a quiet period from Gio Reyna as well. We've gone 10 games now without a goal or an assist from him. So, it's tough as an 18-year-old to kind of have that expectation on you. But the way he was playing at the beginning of the season, that was kind of the realistic expectation. So, to look at that a little bit more, again, Dortmund as a whole, and especially in this game, were really just out of sync with each other. Their possession, especially playing out of the back, was very haphazard. They were not comfortable on the ball, and they were not making good decisions. And honestly, Gio was kind of fitting right into that whole narrative with them. Had some sloppy giveaways in this game, some errant passes. But again, it kind of just fit in with how Dortmund are playing. So unfortunately, it wasn't, out of the ordinary for them as a whole. So to look into this, this whole, I would say, lull for Gio Reyna a little bit more, I personally think it has some effect, to do with this coaching change and just kind of where Edin Terzic is playing Gio Reyna on the field. Under Lucien Favre, he was more central. He was, playing more in a cam role. Obviously, he switched out to the wing at times to kind of, get open and create from the wing. But really, you didn't see him much centrally in this game. I saw him, picking up the ball a lot more on the wing, had some good crosses into the box, actually had a really dangerous one to Erling Haaland early on in the first half that, the goalkeeper saved off the goal line. But I personally just think, Pat, and again, it goes back to our Yunus Musah discussion, I just think he's so much more effective centrally in the middle of the field, because, he just lacks that one-on-one ability that all good wingers have. And he's also not the quickest. He's someone who can kind of burst forward and get into that final third. But I honestly just think, that's not been the case with him at the wing. He needs to be kind of in the center of the park for Dortmund. So kind of, what do you think, Pat?
No, I'm in agreement with you. And again, I know that's another debate there in terms of, the Musah, Reyna, situations like that. But I just think in terms of the different kind of, I guess, gears you could say, a player like Musah has, and just being able to, the way he approaches and takes players on the flank, I think it's just a different skill set. And I just think Reyna would, in terms of his passing, his vision, and again, what we've seen some highlights early on in Dortmund when they were on a roll. He had these nice little runs up the center of the pitch, and just creating chances and for himself and others. I think he's just more aligned there centrally. But yeah, I mean, it's just tough. I don't want to compare it to I don't know if Dortmund just has these moments sometimes over their history. You've seen it with Klopp in the past and a few other moments, but
yeah,
some seasons they just really lose it.
It feels like that, right? Like, yeah, the Jurgen Klopp season where they were towards the bottom of the table. That's a very notable one where they just were struggling. And like right now they're sitting in sixth, so they're still in a Europa League position, but they're really trying to survive and make it to the Champions League again, especially with the COVID pandemic. Strapping clubs of funds. They really need to kind of get that Champions League football for next year. So it's definitely a strange time for them, a tough period, and one where they really need to rebound. The Champions League starts back up in a week from now. Next Tuesday is the first round of the knockout phase. So they're going to be facing a tough Sevilla team, and they're going to really have to kind of perform after not doing so hot all winter long in the Bundesliga. So yeah, I think that's important to keep in mind. Just to circle back on Gio Reyna, and to kind of look back at Christian Pulisic at this time in his career at Dortmund, you kind of saw the same thing happen, that first initial breakthrough in the first team was followed kind of by a little bit of a lull. And I think part of that is just, these players are trying things that are a little bit more advanced than maybe their skill set at the moment. They're kind of thinking two steps ahead, Pat, where they're still trying to get the quality to do the things they're trying to think of doing. So I just think that's something just to look back again and kind of compare the two, which we don't love to do, but
right. No, that's a good point to bring up
to do that. So yeah, Pat, I think I'll throw it to you. I think I'm done with Gio.
That's right, and I guess we'll kind of shift gears here, Austin, talk about Christian Pulisic and his situation here with Chelsea. So most recently, with Chelsea's 2-1 win against Sheffield United this past Sunday, he wasn't included in the 20-man roster, or the squad, excuse me, but Tuchel came out there and confirmed Pulisic was given time off to handle some family problems. So again, I think you mentioned here, which is really important, family's always first, to give him some rest and time. And I guess all we can kind of say here from our channel and YAA is hope everything's okay with Christian and your family, and again, really hoping. I'm sure it's very difficult across the pond with COVID and everything else going on. Just really hope for well wishes for the family there.
Yeah, for sure. Not something I guess you want to hear. We don't really know too much about it, so maybe it's not a bad thing. It's more just something he's got to take care of. But whatever it is, we just hope it's not bad. So
right,
yeah,
that's a good point too, Austin. So again, kind of shifting here to talk about Tuchel and Lampard. Obviously, took over pretty quickly. That swift change there. Out goes Frank, and in comes the former PSG manager and Dortmund there. Old manager there. So his first game was I think the 27th against Wolves, and since he's kind of been appointed there, shifted some different things and implemented new ideas and tactics for Chelsea. And for the first 3 games they're in charge, Pulisic did come off the bench and made a pretty big impact, honestly, in a slightly different position, Austin. So it's really been kind of, I guess you'd almost equated it to a kind of false 9 or a false striker in a way. So I think, for example, he came on a 2-0 win against Burnley and assisted in the second goal late on, and created some really good chances in several occasions. And coming close to scoring, I think, another time against Tottenham there. Came on in a similar role. So kind of interesting to kind of monitor that situation and just see how that kind of affects his playing style, or, just kind of shifting in terms of his positions and getting new ideas in with the former manager, Austin.
Yeah, it's been a weird start to life under Thomas Tuchel for Chelsea. He switched him back to that 3 at the back formation, which we saw at Dortmund and also at PSG. And yeah, it's just been kind of different of a role for Christian to take on the field. And I don't necessarily think that's bad. I think he can still be effective in the role that Tuchel is setting him up in. But it's also strange too that he's been off the bench every game. And I think the first game he said that was because he knew what Christian brought to the field, and that he could bring that same thing off the bench in that game. So from the start, I thought that was a little odd that he knew what he can bring, so he was going to stick him on the bench. But I just hope, Pat, that this isn't a long-term thing, and it's more just him trying to tinker a little bit. And Christian got an assist against Burnley, so it's not like he's not making an impact when coming on.
Right, and that's interesting. You bring up that quote too. I was a little sus, I guess you could say, on that too, Austin. Just it's almost like saying, "I know what you can do. I've already kind of judged you. Maybe you play, obviously, I managed you in the past, but a lot has changed since then."
Right.
So, obviously, you have a plethora of talent there with working in Werner and Mount, and even Hudson-Odoi recently playing extremely well. I guess you could
he's quite good
games. So it'll be kind of tough to kind of force his way back in there to the starting lineup. But I certainly think, obviously, we know he's I shouldn't say think. He's certainly capable of that with his skill set, and he just needs to, again, whether it's in the Champions League or Premier League, just put the ball in the back of the net, keep collecting some of these assists, and really as a team, Chelsea's been kind of not the best phrase, I guess, but kind of down in the dumps in terms of with Frank, and it was just kind of a toxic, you could see it on the pitch, and no inspiration. So hopefully this will bring some or yield some good results here and some great performances for Christian. Yeah,
and like you said, Pat, we know what he can bring to the field. We know he's got consistent quality, which is great. We think that he's going to do well at Chelsea and he's going to be back in the fold. So I don't think I have anything else to add, Pat. So I guess we'll move on to our final player for today, and that is Justin Che. So Justin Che is an FC Dallas player who just got loaned to Bayern Munich with the obligation to buy. So he's a 17-year-old center back as well as a right back, and he also had a German passport. So this is kind of why he's moving overseas before the age of 18. And honestly, Pat, I think he's, obviously hindsight's 2020 with this move, and I know we've been more drawn to him recently because of it. But when you look at the quality he has, he's really one of our best defensive prospects, coming up right now. He's really good. With the ball at his feet. I think that's something he excels at. He's also really good at heading the ball, similar to kind of Chris Richards in the sense that, he's pretty elite in the air. Also, Weston McKennie is a very elite header of the ball. He shows, very similar characteristics as those two players. And I think just his physical attributes, he's very active. He's someone who likes to get forward and kind of put in a tackle upfield. He's also someone who can, do a really good job tracking back and, sticking a foot in, even outside, venturing away from the center of the pitch as a center back. So all those things combined, Pat, I think, this is a really promising move for a young American. And again, moving before 18 is such a key thing. We've seen Christian Pulisic do it. Where's some other good examples? I'm struggling here, Pat. We got Gio Reyna. Gio Reyna is another good example. I'm sure there's a few more I'm failing to think of right now, but it's just such a big thing to get a year under your belt ahead of some of the other prospects coming up in America. So I'm just really excited about this move.
No, I am too, Austin. I'm pumped, and that passport is certainly key. And the Dallas Bayern partnership continues to grow. Just really amazing to see what that's kind of brought for both sides there. But like you said, he's just has so much raw potential in terms of, like you said, aerial duel and just his strength and technical ability too. I will be very I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of follows that similar path to Richards and has some success there. And you can see how much Bayern values the American talent now, and just in general, I think
CONCACAF talent.
The CONCACAF talent. You're right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really excited to see him, over there. Although I know you mentioned too that Bayern, in their youth system, do have some fierce competition he has to kind of go up and fight against.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned the path he'll take right from getting to Bayern. So, like you said, he'll start off with the Bayern U19 team, which is the same team that Chris Richards started off with, and also the same team that Taylor Booth started off with. And the coach right now of that U19 team is Martin D. Michaelis, who used to play for Man City, also used to play for Bayern as a center back, an Argentinian guy, and he's really good. He's someone who knows his stuff and is really gonna be able to teach Justin a lot about the center back position. But like you alluded to, Pat, Bayern have Tanguy Kouassi, who they just signed from PSG this last summer, who's a really talented center back. They also have Mbai, another German center back who is 17-year-old
Right.
as well. And I think he's also made his Bayern debut, if I'm not mistaken. So if he hasn't, then he's been on the roster, I think, for one of their games earlier this season. And he's a big-time prospect. No matter how good of a prospect Justin Shea is, he's got everything. He's tall, he's fast, he's strong, he's really good with the ball at his feet. So you got him, and then a few other players at Bayern too who've impressed too, along with Chris Richards. So it could be a long road to the first team, but I think it just proves a better learning ground for him, and just is going to make him work even harder to kind of prove himself and stand out. So all in all, Pat, I think this is a home run of a move in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Someone that we're going to keep following, but you guys definitely should keep following as well. So I think with that, Pat, now we're going to switch over to quick kicks.
All right, everybody, it's my favorite time of the show. I know it's Austin's, and I hope it's yours at this point, but let's get right into it. It's none other than quick kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
All right, guys, and to start off quick kicks here, we're heading over to Italy with Weston McKennie. Let's start back with the Coppa Italia against Inter Milan there on the second, where he started the match and played the full 90 in a 2-1 win. And then most recently here with Serie A, another crucial win against Roma, 2-0, where Weston started the match and played 65 minutes. So Juventus is really picking it up here, Austin.
Yeah, and they play the second leg of that Coppa Italia tie this Tuesday. So hopefully, he pulls out and helps Juve get the win there. So going over to Germany, we have Tyler Adams. And Tyler started and played 67 minutes in Leipzig's 3-0 win over Schalke.
Nice, Austin. And heading in France here with Timo Weah against Nantes there. Subbed on in the 79th minute in a 2-0 win. And also want to give him a shout out. He scored a goal in the previous game in a win. So, Lille league leaders there doing pretty well here.
That's true. And going back to Germany, we have Josh Sargent. So Josh started, played 89 minutes, and also had an assist for Werder Bremen in their 2-0 DFB Pokal win over Greuther Fürth.
And over in England with Anthony Robinson and Fulham, started the match there and played 79 minutes in a 0-0 draw against West Ham.
And going back to Germany, we have Matt Hoppe. Matt started and played 79 minutes for Schalke in that same 3-0 loss to Leipzig.
Tough loss. But heading to Portugal here, Reggie Cannon started the match against Gil Vicente there for Boa Vista, and another 2-1 loss, but he did play 66 minutes.
And going to Austria, we have Brendan Aronson, who came on for the final 20 minutes of Red Bull Salzburg's 2-0 win over Austria Wien.
Over in Belgium with Matt Miazga in Anderlecht, pretty crucial win there against Genk, and he started the match and played the full 90 in a 2-1 win. So really crucial for the Belgium race.
And a new player we're kind of covering now, Kik Pierre, who started and played 90 minutes for FC 20, and that was in their 3-0 loss to PSV.
And again, back to, or I guess I should say not back, but with Austria, Eric Palmer-Brown here for Vienna. He started the match and played the full 90, an unfortunate 2-0 loss.
And going over to Germany yet again, we have Julian Green and Timothy Tillman. So Julian Green started and played 90 minutes for Greuther Fürth in that 2-0 loss to Werder Bremen midweek. And then Tim Tillman started and played the first half for Greuther Fürth's 4-1 win over Wolfsburg Kickers in the 2 Bundesliga. So good to see, 2 Americans at the same club getting on the pitch.
That's right. We have a lot of that there in the Germany, I should say. And heading to Spain, there are other Americans too that play on this team with Tenerife. But we're talking about Shaq Moore here. So he started the match and played the full 90 in a 1-0 win.
And staying in Spain, we have Conrad de la Fuente, who started and played 89 minutes for Barca B. And that was in an unfortunate 1-0 loss. So hopefully we see more of Conrad with the first team.
Yeah, that's what we want. But talking about our boy here, can't forget him, Andrea Novakovic here for Frosinone. Started the match and played 45 minutes in an unfortunate 2-1 loss.
And finally, we have some moves we want to tell you guys about. So Taylor Booth, who's currently at Bayern Munich 2, just went on loan to the Austrian Bundesliga, and St. Polten over there, a team there in the Austrian Bundesliga. So good to see him, get some more game time at the professional level. And, good luck, Taylor.
Yeah, good luck, Taylor. And another exciting move, Austin, in Denmark here with Christian Pulisic. So, again, he was with the Hobros, an unfortunate situation, but he signed a 4-year deal here with the Superliga leaders, Brøndby, to take effect this summer. So, moving on to greener pastures there and potentially a Champions League football. So, a great move for Christian.
So that's all for our show today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And also, don't forget, Instagram, Twitter, great social media content. And I cannot forget as well, Austin, our new TikTok. So that's up and running, some great content as well.
That's right. We're going to look to do, some more creator content or whatever you want to call it. So check us out there for sure. And we also are available in podcast form. So check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
Yeah, Austin, I think we have some big moves in the work. We want to let our fans know some interesting things in the pipeline here, some new content, and don't want to give away too much, but it's all leading to a really great 2021. And as we kind of continue on, we'll see more action in terms of hopefully the Olympics and the U.S. senior team here.
Yeah, 2021 is a big year for the USMNT, and it's also, like you said, Pat, a big year for us too. So yeah, keep an eye out for what we're doing here in this year. Always trying to bring great content to you guys and generate some good discussion. So like you said, Pat, I think that's all leading to one thing, and that is one day we will win the World Cup.